today's information session. We have 197 registered participants for Cycle 1 of Mcmc Digital Society Research Grant 2024. This cycle's CFP is open until 5 p.m. 1st April 2024 and marks the 8th cycle of our Dsrg program. Our next cycle after this is scheduled for August 2020. We will be making available a recording of this session sometime next week. So if you or your colleagues would like to revisit this information session, you may do so. Next slide. Next slide. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Zachary, and together with my colleague Bhavani, we will be hosting this information session. I shall be taking you through items 1 to 7, and Bhavani will be taking the remainder. Together, later we will field your questions. If you have any questions at all, please type them in the question and answer box together with your name and university. So put there Dr. So-and-so, University X, and your questions. Next slide. Okay, let's take a moment to see that there are 3 sections of this slide. And on the left, we have a little bit about Mcmc legislation. And the first act is the Malaysian Communications and Multimedia Commission Act 1998. This is the creation act which created Mcmc in 1998. And this is the act that actually gave us far-reaching powers over all elements of Communications and Multimedia Commission. Communications and Multimedia industry. The next line, you see the multi-sectoral regulator number 3, and after when we were created in 1998, but our powers came into force in 1999 under the CMA, and also powers under pre-existing legislation, i.e. the DSA and the Postal Services Act, and the powers under those acts were transferred to Mcmc as the convergence regulator for communications and multimedia. Arguably, one of the most important acts is actually the CMA, the Communications and Multimedia Act. Under this act, you will find our ministerial powers and procedures, the allocation for a tribunal, licensing powers, our enforcement powers, our punitive powers, and then you have the 4 parts of what we do: economic regulation, technical regulation, consumer protection, and social regulation. All of these acts are available on our website. So you don't have to spend money. You can open our website and everything is at your fingertips, not just the main legislation, but also the subsidiary regulations too. So under the CMA, there are multiple regulations. So if you're doing a research on the Chapter X, for example, where you're looking at UBDL, then you have to look at the regulations. Under the DSA, we have the powers to license certification authorities, and they are given 5-year licenses. So I think now is the time that everyone is scrambling to pay their income tax. So the income tax is an example of how you submit your submissions, and then it is accompanied by a digital signature. So the 4 digital signature certificate authorities are Post Digicert Sdn Bhd to MSc Trustgate Com.Sdn Bhd, TM Technology Services Sdn Bhd, and RAFCOM Technology Sdn Bhd. So under this Act, Section 62, Subsection 2, notwithstanding any written law to the contrary, Subsection A document signed with a digital signature in accordance with this Act shall be as legally binding as a document signed with a handwritten signature and a fixed thumbprint or any other mark. So it is a new element that is actually introduced in terms of affixing your binding sort of sign on the document. Under subsection B of which is the same, but section 62, subsection 2, subsection D, a digital signature created in accordance with this act shall be deemed to be a legally binding signature. So the importance of the digital signature is non-revocable. You can read about it in more detail when you go and look at the act. Okay, this is interesting. The Strategic Trade Act is an act which actually is we share with other agencies, and the actual powers is under MITI. But basically, let me tell you a little bit about what it is for. So the reason behind the STA is actually to curtail weapons of mass destruction. And the weapon of mass destruction is either nuclear, radiological, chemical, biological, or other devices that are intended to harm a large number of people. So under section 2 of the STA, the purpose of these regulations is to implement the measures by the United Nations Security Council in pursuance of Article 41 of the Charter of the United Nations to give effect to its non-proliferation of weapons of mass destruction related decision. So again, this is a part of our international obligations to work towards a peaceful globe. And anything that comes into or passes by or brokered by Malaysia, we have to make sure it is not used for nefarious purposes. On the next box, you'll see that there are 4 industry fora, and the 4 fora are CFM, which is a consumer forum, CMCF, the Content Forum, MTFSB, which is the Malaysian Technical Standards Forum Berhad, and the Postal Forum. So all these 4 our work towards getting a self-regulatory sort of industry where it's not just us determining what should be happening, but also these forums, they also create voluntary codes and so on, and these sometimes are actually entered into law via licensing conditions, for example. So, example, the content forum, even though it's a voluntary code, but the whole of the forum, the whole of the content code is actually part of the licensing condition for licensees. Next, if you look at the MCMC thingy, you'll see that there are so many things that we are doing. And basically, when you look at it, why is it that there's so many things? Because even though we are only 1,000 staff strong, in MCMC there are 10 sectors, there are 33 divisions, and there are about, last count, about 100, 112 departments in MCMC. So there are wide-ranging work items which are divided into regulatory and developmental roles relating to the communications and multimedia industry. And everything here supports national aspirations on the rightmost, which is My Digital, RMK12, POP IR, and the 2024 budget. Next slide, please. Slide 4. Supporting My Digital, we do that through our membership in the Digital Infrastructure and Data Cluster. We also support the POP IR through our membership of the National Digital Economy and 4IR Council, which is the highest governing body set up to determine policies, execute and monitor strategies and initiatives on the digital economy. For RMK12, an essential component is the Plan Jalinan Digital Negara or Jendela, whose various work items are aimed at closing the digital divide for rural and urban users and putting the right infrastructure in place to allow for Malaysia's continued sustainable growth up the socio-economic value chain. For the Madani Budget 2024, around 2.84 billion has been allocated to enhance digital connectivity initiatives, digital economy, cybersecurity, and national information marketing, as well as to support the development of local talent and creative projects. Subsequently, our KKD has been partitioned into 2 separate ministries. One is the Kementerian Komunikasi and the other one is the Kementerian Digital. But rest assured, MCMC continues to play a key role in supporting our national aspirations. Next slide. The purpose of the Dsrg is to assist us to close evidence gaps to enable MCMC to improve our policies and initiatives continuously. Essentially, researchers are given around 10K and 6 months to complete research activities and submit research reports. A further 3 months are given to fine-tune the report and complete formal requirements prior to project closure. Next slide. This is our framework, and basically it's a tripartite framework. On the one hand, you have MCMC, and under MCMC, you have the research impetus and sponsorship by internal divisions, and these are who we call the research sponsors. You also have the secretariat, which is me and Bawani and my team. We do the project monitoring and administration. On the university side, we have the lead researcher, and this person is responsible for selecting research members from either the same university, other universities, or even industry members. And on the other hand, you have the university, the respective university research management centers. It's with them that we park the money, and it is their requirements in terms of how to tap on and how to get the money once we have given it to them. And the final bit of the puzzle is the technical panel. And the technical panel is membered by senior academicians who are familiar with what we do, and we've had a long history of working with them. And also the panel is led by MCMC C-suite officer. So together they will assess submissions and mark them, and actually the best of the submissions are those that will hopefully be awarded the grants. Next slide, slide 7. Dissemination of findings. Again, the important bit is when you are doing a research, there are two main outputs. The output which is just for MCMC, which is the research report, and the other output is the findings. So the findings we want to share, we want other people to know, and we want people to know you and know what you have done and what research you have come up with. So we do that through the research symposium. We do that through our communicate and MCMC webinars. Sometimes we have newspaper articles, and we also have the publication of the research summary, which is about 14 pages or so in our Media Matters MCMC publication. We are happy to share that Media Matters Volume 6 is fresh off the press, and my colleague Tika is actually sharing it in the chat box, so you can click on it to see all the past 6 volumes. Also, for this cycle, we are loosening the required, how you want to spend the money. The 10,000, you can allocate as much as you require for the purposes of publications. And we are hopeful that apart from what you submit to us, you can also use this to spin off other articles in peer-reviewed journals. Slide 8. So slide 8 and onwards, right, is actually you can see in more detail at page 19 onwards for your guideline. Okay. Sometimes we get questions, and the questions actually are adequately answered if you go to the guideline. And if you do not get joy in the guideline, we also have the contact details for all the research sponsors. So please send them any questions that you might have in your chosen area that you are interested in. Remember, you can only submit as a lead researcher for one project. And if you want to become a team member, you can be a team member in another project. So any one person can only have their name appear in 2 research proposals. Right. So DCC1. Basically, this research looks at analysis of network security intelligence mechanisms. So we are hopeful that people who are seeking this grant for this area have the relevant expertise, either the lead researcher or any of the team members. So our contact persons for this research are Encik Muhammad Firhan, Muhammad Samian, Ms. Fatin, Nabiha Abdul Aziz, and Ms. Aina Shafiqa Aris. And they are all from the Network Security Management Department. DCC2 is adoption of ESG practices amongst CMM industry players. So we are hopeful that everyone starts their journey in adopting ESG practices. In Malaysia, it's only public listed companies that have a duty to report on their ESG adoption practices. But we want everyone else to start their journey towards ESG. So the officers here are Ms. Mona Lisato Akida Muhammad Kamis and Ms. Farah Farnida of our Market Intelligence Department. Next slide. Slide 9. So this looks at social media user sentiment and behaviors. So maybe someone from the communication field, someone who is familiar with social media, those are the types of people that should be leading this research. And the point person here is Muhammad Shamsul Izwan Cik Musa. Next slide. Analysis of consumer behaviors, again, 5G adoption. We want to know what triggers people to adopt 5G, what is preventing them from doing so, what would make it more attractive for them to adopt 5G adoption. Again, somebody asked me, right, what is the target population? The target population is actually, you can find in the guidelines. So, but again, we only are allocating 10,000 ringgit in 6 months. So what we are hopeful is you give us some indicator. It's not a very massive, so we expect the whole country's figures to be reflecting your research, but you can isolate area, population sample as per your ability to do so. So our officers here are Mr. Naufaiz Bazali and Ms. Nosharira Ramli. Slide 11. DI2. So DI is digital inclusion and DCC is digital citizenship and cyber wellness. So again, you can look at page 19 onwards to see what comes under these two categories. But not everything is open. All this research that you see in front of you is guided research. It is the evidence gap that is required to be answered by Mcmc. So given a certain cycle, there will be we'll be looking at different parts of the puzzle. So for this one is the DTT, and this acceptance and adoption of digital terrestrial television for the southern region of Malaysia. This research is interesting because preceding this, there are already 4 or 5 other researchers which have already covered Sabah, which have covered Sarawak, the North states, and so on. Our officer here is Mr. Tam Yeo Cheong. Slide 12. DI3, agriculture sector digitalization and competency building. The point person is Mr. Vignesh Bhuvanaswaraman. And slide 13, next slide. DI4, methodology and population data used to calculate internet coverage. This is also pretty interesting because we rely on population data to make sure that we are spending the right money at the right place. So we're going to revisit these third-party sources in terms of what is the best source to actually tap onto to create a very accurate population and population data. And the leader here is Muhammad Daswano. Again, if you look at the guidelines, you'll find that we have our ask, which is the research objectives, but we do not mention. We also mention what is the research rationale. But in terms of research methodology, the data you collect, the hybridity of your approach, whether or not it's quantitative or qualitative or a little bit of both, That depends on you. You will determine what is the best approach. And when we are considering your proposal, we look at who has come up with the best sort of solution to actually obtain the answers that we require. And we are again referring back to the technical panel who are seasoned researchers themselves who are able to guide us through that. Oh, okay, this needs fine tuning here and there. And they will also, if you are chosen to present at the final bit, right? They might also give you some suggestions on improvement of your proposal. Slide 14. DI5 broadband service quality of experience and adoption factor. This is also interesting because historically, when we want to look at services, we look at it from the quality of service lens. What is the technical parameters that are met? But moving forward, the important aspect is how the consumers experience the services themselves. So this is where we have seen a shift from QoS to QoE, or a blended approach with both quality of services and quality of experience or factors. So the officer here is Miss Lin Yi Chi. DI6, Garis Panduan Perancangan Infrastruktur Komunikasi and UBBL, University and Highways Business is building bylaws. So basically, at the federal level, these things have been ratified, but there needs to be harmonization at the state level. So your research is going to look at what are the impediments, what are the factors which actually help the state governments to harmonize these laws at the state level. And the officer is Ms. Raihan Rahmat. Slide 15. DI7, ensuring communication services for new and existing developments. Okay, under the UBBL, telecommunications is now considered a utility in the same way that electricity is considered a utility or water is considered a utility. But if you go to a new housing area, for example, you can easily access water and electricity. But because of the complexity of communications and the different sort of services, sometimes there is a lag between when you go into a new area and when that service is available. You might go into an area and mobile services are already available there, or it might be very spotty, or the fiber connections might be physically there, but there are no services supporting those fiber connections. So this is where this research is important to see how do we get to an equitable sort of solution in terms of making sure the telecommunication services are made available for everyone who is going into that place, but also fair to the telecommunication providers. And the officer is Muhammad Hamizan Hashim. Slide 16, DI8 MCMC Cashless Society Program. So we have been supporting digitalization across the nation, and one of the things is we are hoping that people adopt cashless society, cashless applications, cashless ways of doing things, because these things also ride on our infrastructure, on telecommunications. So it's holistic. We need to address both demand and supply issues. So we're very good at the supply side. The demand side is something we're building up. It's the developmental side. So again, the officer is Muhammad Hazwan Haif. Slide 17. This is interesting too. MCMC adoption of generative AI for enhanced knowledge management. The officers are Muhammad Amir Shafiq Abdul Hamid, Ms. Nurizan Abdul Rahman, and Mr. Muhammad Shafiq Norin. Slide 18. DI10 cloud-based productivity adoption within the communications and multimedia industry. The officer is Mr. Muhammad Faizul Hayat Masri. So guys, again, the names are there, the contact details are there. You can contact them. You can also copy back to us. BI11 Tibet adoption of metaverse. The officer is Ms. Dayang Aida Awang. Somebody asked, to what extent can we assist Tibet rollouts? We don't. What we do is we are assisting to do the research, and we want to make sure that there is enough evidence to support whatever things that are going to be done down the line. Thank you guys, ladies and gentlemen, doctors, professors. I will now pass the mic to my colleague, Ms. Bowen. Thank you.
Okay, hi. Thank you so much, Zach, for the very detailed presentation section. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you once again for spending time and attending today's Dsrg information session. So now, for my part, I will be giving an overview of the administration process. As you can see in the slides right now, right? So it shows the flow chart on the Dsrg process overview and the critical timeline that must be observed. For this cycle, the call for proposal was open on 1st of March, and it will be open until the 1st of April, and we are closing it at sharp 5 p.m. After the closing, we will start the evaluation process, which I will explain in detail later. This evaluation process here will begin from the first week of April until the second week of May. Once the evaluation process is completed, the shortlisted researchers will be notified during the third week of May, followed by the execution of the letter of award in the fourth week of May. The project is expected to commence during the first week of June. So please note that all these timelines are tentative and subject to changes if necessary. Interested participants can visit the following links and download the listed documents necessary for further understanding and submission. Next slide, please. Okay. To register your interest, first, please visit the call for proposal page on the Mcmc website and download the necessary documents for the proposal submission. The participants are strongly encouraged to read through and understand the Dsrg guideline before drafting and submitting the proposal. This is because we want to ensure that the proposals are aligned with the cycle's research and project requirements. You will only be considered for the evaluation when you submit the proposal form in both PDF and Word copies, the CV of all research team members, certified copies of the highest academic qualification and other relevant materials to support the proposal. All these documents must be submitted via email by 1st of April, 5 p.m. sharp. So please note that we will not accept any submission received after the deadline. Okay, this is a gentle reminder that we have been repeating every year, that you'll be hearing also if you join the upcoming sessions onward. So please don't wait until the last minute to submit the proposal. This is because multiple incoming emails with heavy attachments at the same time will cause the server to delay the email delivery. So if we receive any proposal after the 5 p.m., we cannot accept it, and it will be a great disappointment for you, because we understand how much effort you put into creating a research proposal from scratch, and we would not want your effort to be wasted. Next slide, please. Okay, this is an overview of the evaluation process. We will begin with the opening of the call for proposal, which will run for 1 month. After the closing, all the submitted proposal will be filtered and reviewed by the Dsrg Secretariat based on the research requirement criteria. If the applicant's proposal is shortlisted, they'll be invited for a pitching session with the Dsrg technical panel of experienced academicians or industry experts. If not shortlisted, we will also notify them accordingly. After the pitching session, the successful applicants who are considered for the award will be notified via email, followed by the execution of the letter of award. And for those who are unsuccessful, we will be notifying them via email as well. Next slide, please. Okay, on top of the requirement listed in the Dsrg guideline, so these are the following additional criteria that you will consider upon reviewing and selecting the proposal. First, a few of them is the researcher must demonstrate a sound understanding of MCMC's roles and functions. And also the researcher's experience and expertise are also demonstrated through prior research work and publication in the proposed field. The proposed research also must provide new insight, value, or knowledge on the existing body of research, and the feasibility of the research scope must commensurate with the grant amount and duration, which are RM 10,000 ringgit for 6 months. So the proposal also must address the outlined research problem and exclude the development of prototypes or application. Finally, the proposal must meet submission and evaluation criteria and must be written in an understandable, concise, and straightforward manner. Next slide, please. All right. In addition, for the selection process, we will also consider these 5 critical qualifying criteria. First is quality. The proposed research must be rational and presented coherently and logically. The proposed research must also fall within the research focus area and include all ethical considerations. The second is impact. The proposed research must contribute to MCMC's policies and initiatives and offer new insight into the subject area. The third is alignment. The proposed research must align with the beneficiary department's specific work and potentially be useful for building the knowledge base. The fourth is suitability. The research must have the right expertise, skills, and knowledge and be able to propose a suitable methodology to accomplish the research objectives. And finally is the feasibility. The proposed research must be feasible and completed within the stated time frame, which is 6 months. Next slide, please. Okay, we have come to the end of our presentation. If you have any question, please type them into the Q&A box. Meanwhile, I would like to read out some questions that some of you have already typed out during the registration for this session. And I'd like to invite Zach to the floor to answer some of them. Okay. Okay, Zach is on. Okay, number 1. Can we produce a video as a research?
So the main product of the research is the research report, the manuscript, and actually presentations. But if you have a video, it can be a byproduct of the research. It is not the product, but it is part of it. So we've had in the past where a researcher also has created like a competition for students to actually submit videos. But we only had one experience of that kind. So we don't want the research to be the video. The video can be a part of the research. I hope that answers.
All right, thank you, Zach. Okay, question number 2. This is quite, how to say, vague. Expected outcome and target population.
Okay. Expected outcome and target populations, please go back to the guideline. The guideline tells you who we're thinking of in terms of who you should be tapping on. But again, they are limited by the 10,000 ringgit and the 6 months that you need to prepare the research. So you are the one who is going to suggest to us in your proposal how to whittle down that target population. If you're saying that, oh, I would like to look at students in the northern region, for example, in the states of A, B, and C, that's fine too. But then again, you are competing with other applicants who are also submitting their proposals. So you could limit it, but make sure it is realistic in terms of what you can do and in terms of competing with other submissions.
Okay, thank you. The next question. I appreciate if we could have the assessment rubrics for the proposals.
The rubric was just given by Bhavani just now, right? The 5-point rubric, what was it again?
Wait one second. Yes,
alignment,
yeah.
quality, and things like that. Yeah, here it
Like
is.
that?
So again,
Yeah.
this slide again is going to be made available to you, and also the recording is going to be made available to you, so you can revisit it, and you can also look in our guideline. So if you want to hand on heart, look at how well you've done, look at these 5 criteria, and you can self-assess in terms of another thing which we look at is actually your the language and the quality of submissions there. So we do expect you to either use Malay or English, but use Malay or English well.
Okay. The next question. Is there any tips that I should focus on, example, the research problem or methodology part to apply for this research
I
proposal?
covered this earlier. Again, methodology, theoretical framework, conceptual frameworks, how you do is the data is either quantitative or qualitative or a hybrid of both. That is up to you. We are looking at the strength of your proposals, and we do not limit how you want to do it, what your theoretical frameworks are, which disciplines you come from, as long as it is relevant to answering the research objectives. So this is where the technical panel comes in to make sure that these people are actually the right people who actually do the research. So we're going to look at your suitability too.
All right. Okay, the next question. What is the success rate of this grant application?
Again, this is now the 8th cycle in our program. We started long time ago, not so long time ago, but this is cycle number 8. And if we look at as a whole, right, you have a 1 in 10 chance of getting the grant. So basically, for any submission you have another 9 people who are also submitting.
Okay.
So it's pretty good, isn't it? 1 in 10. I think it's better than other grants.
Yes, that's quite big. Yeah. So the next question: can I access the recorded session as I have class at the end? So
Yes.
I think we can answer that. Yes, you may access the recorded video, which we will upload like next week, tentatively, right? In the Mcmc website. The next question: does telehealth, telemedicine project fit the scope of the grant opening?
All our research for every cycle is actually guided research. So we have shifts in terms of what topics are being sought. So telehealth is a focus of a previous cycle. For this cycle, no. Maybe it can come up again in other cycles, but what you see is what you get. So it's a receiving thingy, right? So the 14 that we are published, we want proposals to align with this 14.
Okay. All right. The next question: do I need to do in group or individual or research student? I think you can refer to the guideline, but like I said, you need at least 2 people, 1 lead researcher and 1 co-researcher to submit your proposal. As for the research students, they can actually support the research. However, we will highly encourage a subject matter expert to be part of the lead researcher or co-researcher of the group.
Yeah. So for the students, right? If you are intending to give them some money, you cannot put them as a team member. But if you want to pay them as a research assistant, they will have to come in just as a research assistant. So it depends on how you treat that student. So we've had many students who are actually part of research teams, but then again, they are also where they are not part of the team because the researcher wants to pay them researcher. What is it? RA, research assistant.
Okay. How long is the duration of the research? It is 6 months, yeah, for each project. Next question: what type of data is required? Quantitative, qualitative, or a mix of both?
We've answered that.
Okay, yeah.
So it can be up to you.
Okay. What are the criteria of the final report? How much detail should be included in the report? This one I can answer. The we have a template for the final report. So whatever details that is included in the template have to be completed by our awarded researchers lah. So whoever asks this question, if you are awarded, you can access the template. So that's it for the questions that has been asked before.
So we'll look at Farida. Is it Dr. Farida Hazwani? I'm not sure your affiliation. So may I know if it's compulsory to include all research targets, or can we select only specific groups? Research targets. It's not research data, research targets. Or target group. You can suggest to us and justify why is it that you want to look at a specific group. But again, the advice is the same. You are competing with other submissions. So if you look back towards the alignment to Mcmc, we are looking at, the wider the better. So if you do limit, if you have other competitors who are slightly wider than your limit, it might be against you in terms of the consideration for moving on towards from the long listing to the short listing and to the final. We've got here from Dr. Jamaluddin Aziz. Are there any previous research done in Malaysian context under the same grant scheme? If there are, is it possible to emulate the methodology? Yes, you may emulate methodologies which have been used in the past, but we do advise that you do if you can, because different researchers will have different disciplines where they are expert in, and sometimes the methodology is also related to their respective expertise. It might be that if you're coming from a different discipline, you might be looking at in default a different sort of methodology to actually look at it. So you can adopt, you can adapt, you can actually innovate. It is up to you. What is the minimum population of the research? Again, we allow you to stipulate in terms of what is your comfort level given the limited resources at hand. We are looking at a dipstick study as long as we are happy that we have data that can help us moving forward. So you decide in terms of the population. From Dr. Jasmine Vivian, for researchers who still have other ongoing requests, if it's not Dsrg, fine, you can apply. But if it is hours, then you have to wait for the completion. Only after closure can you apply for the next Dsrg grant. Who's next? Dr. Mazlan. Let's say we manage to secure the grants. How is the disbursement? Okay, this is all inside the guideline, so it's a phased disbursement. We have 3 disbursements: 50%, 40%, 10%, 50% at the start, 40% at the midterm, and the 10% only after completion. So the 10% is we hold in abeyance until we have completed. Who's next?
Muhammad Saleh.
Okay, Dr. Muhammad Saleh. Hello, Doctor from UMS Sabah. The expatriate, yes, they are. They can even lead. So we've had, I think I can recall at least 2 researchers who are from other countries. One is attached with EUM, the other one was UIA, and they are both foreign nationals, and they have led our research in the past. Dr. Jamil, again, what is the main role of the officer assigned to each team? Okay, again, I'll go back. The impetus for all the research comes from our line departments. We manage the research program, but the evidence gap that we want to look at comes from the line departments. So this officer is most probably the person who came up with the idea in the first place. And we actually, with them, fine-tune the research request document. So they will not only shape the research at the beginning, but in the process, if there's any facilitation required, for example, if you need contact details with industry members, they are the people who are going to be helping you in terms of facilitating the research, and they are also the main customer of the research. So who is the research for? It is for that research sponsor. What is the evidence gap addressing? It is their evidence gap in this addressing. I hope I answered your question. And next one is
Nur Shahada.
Cynthia.
Oh, Sean. Sean.
Sean. Okay, sorry, my eyesight.
Sean.
Sean's, yeah. Within the 6 months, you need to submit progress just once, yeah? You have to submit your, at the 3 month point, you have to submit your interim report. Interim report basically just tells us to date what you have completed and what you have spent. So it's pretty straightforward. Dr. Noshirida Kamaludin, are all the claims expenses where or used? Yeah. Everything, the money is parked with your RMC. So once we have parked with them, you have to observe all the formal requirements set by the university. So if the university says A, you have to do A. If they say B, you have to do B. It's on. Again, Dr. Farida, another question. I'm sorry, but can you repeat again on the difference of this grant expenditure details compared to previous? Okay, the difference is this one main difference. We used to put an upper limit on how much you can spend on publication, and also how much you can spend on conferences.
Yes, previously we limit only 2,000 ringgit for publication and 10% of the research grant amount for conference. However, for this cycle onwards, we have open, there is no limitation. So therefore, you may utilize as much as you want for the whatever like expenditure that you wanted to use that has been listed down in the application formula.
We're hopeful this way to actually support you guys in publishing with peer-reviewed journals. So if you felt that you can save in other areas, but you need to have 5,000 or 6,000 to spend to get a reputable journal entry, we allow that. Because again, it's based on your creativity. Much of your research is going to be desk-based, and then much of it might be deployed via questionnaires, which can be done online. So it may be that there are opportunities for saving based on technology, and you can actually spend money to further your academic sort of testimonials, your reputation via these publications. So that's what we are the main difference from this cycle and the previous 7. In Dr. Jamaluddin again, in UCAM, we usually need to apply for ethical clearance. Yes, this is part of it, this is in the guideline. But when you're submitting the proposal, you just tell us the extent of the ethical requirements that you need to observe. We don't expect you to already obtain ethical clearances, but we want to be cognizant of what are the ethical considerations that need to be addressed in a particular research project. So if for your research in the given area, you need to do A, B, then you have to tell us that A and B needs to be clear. Alright, next one. I think we're done, right?
Wait 1 second. Okay.
Alright, we'll give you another 2 minutes.
Yeah, 2
if
minutes.
there are no questions, then maybe we can wrap up and we can move on to asking you guys to help us in terms of completing this feedback form.
Yeah.
Again, kita makan gaji based on this feedback form. So please take a little bit of time to answer this feedback form because this is what we are
to improve our processes in the future. In terms of this information session or the Dsrg process execution itself lah. So whatever it is, please do submit your feedback form for our improvement in the future. So just now I saw someone say, called Nina Farisha, she raised her hand, but then Nina, if you're still here, you may type your question in the Q&A box. We'll give you like around a couple of minutes.
Okay, we give you one more minute or not. You can always send us a question later. You send again. Please send to the research sponsor if it's about the topic. If it's about anything general about this research grant and how we run the research grant, then please send to the Dsrg. And all the contact details are in the
Application
yeah.
and also MCMC webpage.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't worry about the slide and the video recording. We will upload it in the MCMC website, the Dsrg page, next week.
Think how many people are attending today?
1, 3.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, to the 135 who taken the time out to attend, we are very glad that you have, and we are very thankful for your participation. On that note, we'll end a little bit early so you can go about doing your other business. And thank you so much for coming. And please talk about our research grant. And please share what you learned today. And look out for the video which we are going to share sometime next week. It should be out by Wednesday, but give or take 1 or 2 days. So, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you on behalf of myself, Bawani, my boss Shirley, I've got Kasturi, Atika, and Aina here too. So, bye bye.
Thank you so much, James. Mini reminder, please don't submit at 1st April, 5 p.m.
Media matters. Research report.